All right, folks, the time has come. We are going to compare the Hobbysoul Slinger with the Hobbysoul Slinger X. When I reviewed the Slinger, I was pleasantly surprised with this tire. I thought it performed really well for being just from a company like Hobbysoul that, is, I don't know, kind of a C-list company. But I was really interested in the tire initially because I've always liked RC four-wheel drive slingers, but I've always been disappointed that they didn't have a true Class 2 slinger. They have the Slinger, which is like 385, and then they have the Slinger XL, which is a Class 1 size. And then they have the 2.2 Slinger, which is like 5.5 inch, but they've never had a good Class 2 one. And Hobbysoul gave us a good Class 2 Slinger. Not an overly sticky compound, but it performed pretty well in my video. And I said in that video, something that I always thought about RC four-wheel drive slingers is they benefited from lug work. And you would cut the smaller lugs out, and that can give you some better traction on the rocks. And additionally, it clears mud better. And my plan was I was going to do that with, I said I would do that with the slingers, and then I was like, maybe I'll buy another set of slingers and cut them out on that one and then compare the two side by side. And then I discovered Hobbysoul did that for us. We have the Slinger X, which has those smaller staggered lugs removed. And this tire comes in two compounds. It comes in a T8 and a T10 compound. So T8 is soft, which is what this compound is, and then T10 is like super soft. So I'm going to order some T10s after, we take a look at the T8s, and we'll see kind of what the difference is. But they've given us that. And they've also given us some interesting sizes. So the Slinger is a true Class 2. It's a 475. The Slinger X is like 485. So it's a slightly larger, you'd probably like to see what I'm seeing, slightly larger, tire, technically not Class 2 at 385 or 485. I think that'd technically be Class 3, but, it's close enough. We're going to compare the two side by side. And they also have this tire in like a 5-inch, a 1.9 by 5-inch, so kind of interesting. But we're going to see how the Slinger and the Slinger X compare. These are the same compound. The only difference is the size and then that cut lug that Hobbysoul did for us. And yeah, let's see how they do. Now, I've already reviewed the Slingers, but to make this fair, I want to do a side-by-side comparison. We're running CI foams in both of these tires. We're running softs up front and mediums in rear, and the beadlocks are different because the Slinger X is a wider tire, so it has a wider beadlock on it, but the beadlocks weigh almost exactly the same. So we should have a pretty fair comparison here. And basically what we're going to do to make filming easier for me, because I'm kind of limited on time, we're going to run the Slingers and then we'll run the Slinger X. In future side-by-side comparison videos, I would like to do like cuts between each obstacle, so you'll see obstacle 1 with the Slinger, and then obstacle 1 with the Slinger X, and then obstacle 2 with the Slinger, and obstacle 2 with the Slinger X. But I just don't have the time to do that today, and with the video editing stuff, that's going to take me longer than I can manage right now. So, but we'll get you a side by side. We'll see which tire is better. I already know I like the Slinger. I have a feeling I'm going to like the Slinger X more, but right now we're going to find out. All right, so on to the course with the Hobbysoul Slinger. Now, this is a tire that we've run before, but we had different inserts in it the first time. If I remember correctly, we had 3D inserts, and the course has changed. Our second obstacle is now different. And, well, you would think before I did a side-by-side comparison video, whoop, this is my fault. Bad entry onto the obstacle. I came on way too shallow. No tire can prevent a rollout there because the suspension can't handle that. You would think if I'm doing this comparison video with a tire that I've already run, that I would rewatch that original video and just kind of refresh myself on how the tire did. This is a hobby, not a job. I didn't do that. I didn't prepare. So, I know they did pretty good. I know they were surprising, but I can't remember how they did on everything. Right now on the side hill, we're coming in on the lower, more difficult line, and we are seeing some side slide, as common for a chevron lug. Quite a bit of side slide. I don't remember if this tire did the low line or the high line last time. And if I remember correctly, this tire wasn't perfect. It just did better than expected. Now the thing with the Slingers and the Slinger X's, we're similar in costs. I think the X's cost a little bit more. Right now, they're on sale for like $43. I think these are like $38. So, and I think they're regular prices. I think the Slinger X's are closer to $50, and these are like closer to $45. So, we're about a $5 difference between the tires. But that $40 or $50 is for a set of 4. But you know, these are not your typical, you know, $20 set of Amazon tires. Not super cheap. Able to complete the side hill successfully. We get the reposition. We took it with the lower, more difficult line. There was some side slide. We definitely had to be diligent with the throttle and with the steering on there, but the Slinger's able to do it. Again, inside the Slingers, we are running Crawler Innovation Little Nova dual stage foams. Soft up front, medium and rear. These will be the 475's height foam. Yeah, not bad on the side hill. But anyhow, the cost of the Hobbysoul tires is you know, a little bit cheaper than what you get with most bigger brands, but not significantly cheaper. And so we do still expect performance out of them. I was surprised during the first review of these because even regardless of the price, I didn't expect good performance out of them, but I was pleasantly surprised that I found pretty decent performance. But, you know, now that I've had it, I'm going to expect it from all Hobbysoul tires because I know what they're capable of doing, so I'm going to expect them all to perform decently well. So on to our second obstacle. This is the obstacle that is new since the last time the Slingers ran the course. Our old second obstacle back there. Got tired of fighting water level, constantly being underwater, not underwater. Just lacked consistency with that obstacle. So here we're testing similar stuff. We're a pretty steep, slick incline. We actually have a few more difficulties to contend with. We've got a pretty big lip right here that if we get the rear tire there, it wants to pitch us over backwards. Most tires here have to resort to wheel speed to get up. And when I say most, I mean almost all tires have. The only one that hasn't has been the upgrade Rock Claw, and that was actually on Tire Rack 2.0, which is a little bit more performance-oriented version of Tire Rack with a custom chassis and portals. And although it needs some suspension tuning because that slow pole was on its christening drive where I'm doing a test and tune, they were able to do it. The Slingers, I don't think we're going to get the slow walk. We pull on decently until we get right here. And this is what I'm talking about with that lip. That tire gets caught in that ledge, and then, you know, we don't have very much traction on the front. One tire is off the ground in the front. And so with more wheel speed, it's just going to want to pitch us over backwards. We might be able to shuttle over like we have, and if we can hook enough front lug on the lip of that rock up here, the goal, what the Rock Claws were able to do is pull that. The Slinger has a chance to do that with its lug design because we got a big chunky lug and a good side lug, but I don't know that it's going to do it with compound. Yeah, we're going to go wheel speed. We got to get it off that lip there because wheel speed's just going to pitch us backwards. So we need to reposition and come up just like this, and then we can use wheel speed to get us on up. So Not bad. That's what 99.9% of tires have to do. The Slingers actually showed a little bit of promise there, so I'm eager to see if the Slinger X has any better luck there, being slightly taller and having a more open lug design. And then, you know, if we get the Slinger X in the T10 compound, which is supposedly softer and stickier, maybe it'll be even better. Now, this is another obstacle that the Slingers did not run, and right off the bat, we're having issues. I'm not sure if I came onto this obstacle the right way, so I'm going to give it a reset and give it the benefit of the doubt. All right, coming back onto here. The majority of tires are able to do this without too much fuss. Sometimes we've got to search for traction right here. Kind of got to go over to the left here with some tires. Maybe hook a little bit of edge. There we go. Ooh, go back to passenger side. Nope. Ooh, not good. Not good. Slinger definitely struggling here. I can't recall another tire that has had this kind of an issue here. This obstacle is new. It hasn't been run a great deal, but we're getting lots of bounce, lots of traction hop from that lug. So we're going to give it a little juice to get past this initial pull on, because we do have some unevenness in the rock that might be giving us issues. So we want to give it a little blip, but I don't want to jump off the edge of the rock. And with this motor and my twitchy trigger finger, who knows what's going to happen. Okay. Okay, we got to stay in the throttle to get the crab walk. Trying to keep it on film or on video. There we go. Whew. That was not beautiful. I think that to date, with tires that I've ran on this obstacle, ooh, we're gonna fall. Please don't fall. Come on, get it. No! That's the most difficult. I haven't had a tire do this poorly here. We're going to reset and give it one more chance. So as you can see, it's not holding real tight here. We're slowly sliding. So that's definitely a lug and compound issue. Possibly more of a lug than a compound. So my main complaint with the Slinger, there we go. Even since the Slinger existed, the RC four-wheel drive Slinger has always been that lug. Like I talked about in the original video with this one, when I originally mentioned opening that lug up. I mean, you know, we discovered that for a reason, right? Like, so, I mean, the Hobbysoul Slinger is definitely struggling, but I think some of the struggles are inherent to this lug design. So I'm extremely hopeful in that Slinger X. And you know, if the Slinger X doesn't work out, we can always open these lugs on this tire and see what happens. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We've got a long way to go before we do that. So we've had that first roll off on the side hill was my fault. Shoot, I'm gonna have to go back and look at the video. Did we have a second roll off? I know we had 2 resets on obstacles 2 and 3. I think the only roll off on the side hill we had was due to me coming onto the side hill improperly. We just had quite a bit of side slide on there. And this is why I do want to get to the point to where on these side-by-side videos that I'm doing one obstacle at a time with the tire, you know, this tire, that tire, this tire, that tire. Because then I don't have to sit here and try to remember how the tire did. But right now we're dealing with timing. And so if I say something that isn't quite right, you have the luxury of rewind and to, skip back and forth in the video if you want, and watch them one obstacle at a time. And eventually, the quality of my content will get to the point where I have timestamps and to where my video editing is better, and I will do all that work for you. But right now, you're going to have to help yourself a little bit. All right, now, yeah, Slinger can pull up there nice and easily. That lug does conform nicely to the surface. It's a pretty tall lug, and it doesn't necessarily just fold under itself, but it does conform to the surface and flatten out and kind of do what we want it to do. And especially with those nice CI foams in there, doing a really good job. Ooh, that's not good. So our rear tires just let go right there and let us come up over. I can. So sometimes I drive this obstacle poorly and it's my fault. That was tire. That was the rear tire not having the grip to hold us on. And you see it again. Today is Veterans Day. It's November 11th. I'm going to upload this video immediately, but immediately does not necessarily mean right after I'm recording. It means it's probably going to be tomorrow. I'll upload it when I get home tonight, but by the time I get home and get it off my phone to the computer and get everything uploaded, it's probably just going to be midnight. So happy Veterans Day to those of you who are veterans and who are active duty, and even, police and fire and EMS and all first responders. Thank you for the service that you provide to our country. I know, especially in these times, it can seem like quite a thankless job. You're judged a lot for the actions of a few, but you're appreciated. You make sacrifices that most people know nothing about, especially most people who talk a lot of ish. Are usually the type of people who walk by people in need in the street and then judge others for actually providing a service. But thank you for your service. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for existing, because without people like you, a lot of us wouldn't have the luxuries and the freedoms that we have to come out here, drive tiny trucks on rocks, do a lot of things that we take for granted here in America. I don't remember how Slingers did on this obstacle. I think I'm going to have to hook that side lug, which is what most tires do here. It's really what the purpose is. There we go. I had to hook and then I lost it. That's bad driving. Here we go. Slow with the throttle. There we go. Get that lug. It is tricky sometimes to keep the lug hooked and not drop it too far to where you're sitting on the axle tube like it's doing right now. Again, quite a bit of traction hop coming from that lug, but we are able to get it. Oh man, I just realized that exit wasn't the best filming. Oh, I think I'm gonna have to find an alternative to the chest piece, to the chest rig. It makes it way easier for me to film than a tripod does, and I'm not going back to a tripod. But it's really hard for me to remember to point my chest at the truck sometimes. But the problem with something like, mounting it to my head, because I've thought about, it would be nice if I mounted it to my head, because then rather than having to point my whole body at the rig when I want to film the rig, I can just, it's going to film where I'm looking. But if it's mounted to my head, I'm just recording on my cell phone. Then I can't see the screen to see where it's pointed. It was a pretty good pull off there. Had a brief diff hang up, but tire's able to pull it. And I do have a remote pause and record button, but you know, I've had enough issues with my pausing and recording, and I really need to be able to see the screen is what I'm getting at. So I don't know what the solution is right now, but I'm having a hard time sometimes with getting everything on film with a chest rig. Maybe I gotta go back to a tripod. All right, coming to our steep incline. Not gonna get a nice slow pull up. Let's try coming on one more time. We've dropped quite a few leaves right here. Not to make too many excuses, but they are kind of a nuisance today. All right, we're gonna bump on, nice and slow. Right, get that front end up. Get me right at the angle that I want to be at, and bump. Oop, that wasn't the angle I wanted to be at. Let me go reset so I don't break something. There we go. Now, if I remember correctly, this is about how it was last time. I have to use some wheel speed and search for traction, but we are able to get it. Okay, able to complete. Again, not the smoothest. Definitely didn't slow walk it, but able to do it. So the only things, well, we have failed. It depends on how you look at it. We had to take resets on obstacle 2 and 3. And then obstacle, I don't know what number it is it 7? That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, obstacle 7. We completely failed. We rolled off both parts of obstacle 7. It's when we flipped forward, when the rear end lost traction. Now on the trails, what am I caught on? All right, I just want you to see, we've got a snag right here. And these weeds, they like to wrap themselves around axles, and they're pretty strong. This would be pulling off here. Ooh, if not for that. These leaves, this is the hard part about fall. Really, the only thing it affects is the trails. Down on the rocks, it's open enough to where the wind kind of keeps them clear and there's not as many trees. But up here in the trees, we're protected. There's a lot more trees up here. These leaves hit the ground and then they stay here. So next week when I come back out, I'm gonna have to bring a leaf blower and try to clear some of this out. If nothing else, it makes it hard for me to see the ground and see where I'm supposed to be driving. Okay, here's another obstacle that we're kind of struggling to get up on. Entry to this obstacle is more difficult than it looks perhaps on camera. If I can get my shadow out of the way. All of this right here is very uneven and slick, and it's all smooth ledges, so there's really nothing for the lug to grab, so you're very dependent on compound here. The Slinger X may have an advantage here with being slightly taller, but ultimately I think we're the same compound. They don't specify the compound on this version of the Slinger, but being that the Slinger X comes in a T8 and a T10, the T8 is what I have and it feels the same as this, so I assume these are T8. Yeah, even with speed. So the difficult thing is, even when you use wheel speed, you can get yourself up, but then you run into that ledge up there, so you have to you have to get this kind of perfect. This is a lot more technical than it looks, a lot more difficult than it looks. Now, it's not hard if you have a good tire, but sometimes with these you know, more rubbery compounds, this is what you get. Now, I don't recall what the Slinger did here last time. It probably didn't have any issues. And this is somewhere where a 3D insert actually helps here, because 3D inserts tend to be softer than the Crawler Innovation foams that I run in the rear tires. And most of the time, I don't like that much collapse, especially on the rear. But on this obstacle, it can be helpful. And that's what was in these tires the first go around. But again, I don't remember what they did here. Maybe they struggled this hard before. I'm about to bypass it though, which would be a failure. So it'd be 2 failures and 2 resets. All right, we're gonna bypass. What are we? Oh, driving right into. Oh, how am I going over that same thing? Hunting for traction here on the loose surface. This is mostly the gravel giving an issue, not the leaves. Searching for traction though. We're finding it, but we're not able to come up here with minimal wheel speed. We're kind of having to give it a third throttle probably. All right, and here it is, folks. The Hobbysoul Slinger X and T8 compound. Let's see how it compares to the Slinger. There's one of you specifically who's been waiting on this review, and I apologize, I can't remember your screen name, but I will put it on screen now if I remember to in edit. I appreciate you requesting specific content and letting me know what you want to see. It makes my job a lot easier to know that you guys are appreciating the videos, and you know, it encourages me to keep recording when you tell me specific things you want to see. So if there's a tire that you're curious about and you want my opinion on it, if you haven't seen it, request it. There's a good chance I already have it. If I don't, I'll get it. But right now I need to quit talking. It doesn't appear to be, just as I was going to say, it doesn't appear to be side sliding quite as much. We did. But we're taking that same low line. Now we start our turn up. I need to keep passenger side front planted. So far, nope. That was absolutely tire letting go. There was no sidewall collapse with those CI foams. I may have gotten a little too far over on the obstacle for this tire. I believe with the Slinger I didn't go quite that far, although it wasn't too much different. But let's give it another shot. Come on here. Ooh, I need to. Didn't come on the rocks at the best angle, but not bad enough for it to be an excuse. But we're definitely still sliding sideways. Actually, perhaps a little bit more with that open lug. Yeah, driver front already lifting up off the ground. I need to be able to settle. Let's just go straight across. There we go. Let's get that turn up now. Get that pivot from the rear. Come on, give me that pivot. Give me the pivot. Give it to me. There we go. Settle the front. Give me the... Ooh, come on, settle the front. Settle the front. Real slow. Every time we just fall where we're going to bust links. All right, it's going to get one more chance. So, with the Slinger, again, I haven't gone through and reviewed the video I just shot of the Slinger. I think the only roll-off on the side hill we had was that initial roll-off right here where we came on, right? Where I said that it was my fault because I came onto the obstacle wrong. I believe that was the only rollout. If I'm wrong, we only had one other rollout. So far, we're at 2 rollouts with the Slinger X, and it is absolutely due to the tire. We're sliding down too far to where we're upsetting the suspension. And then I need to get that pivot. But right when I need that pivot, we start dealing with these cracks in the rock. Now, granted, this is the more difficult line. If I roll out now, I might give it one more chance on the shallow line. I don't think I'm going to roll out. I think we got it. Ooh, just as I say that. Just as I say that. Come on, pivot. Pivot. There we go. Come on. There we go. Whew. All right. Not as good on the side hill. Now, a couple things to consider. With the more open lug design and probably the same compound, that's not necessarily surprising because sometimes too closed of a lug can create issues on the side hill, but the regular Slingers is not exactly a closed lug. It's just not as open as these. This is also a taller tire, so our center of gravity is higher. And this last part is a pretty, like, I doubt this has anything to do with it, but I'm going to mention it. The Slingers have been run now several times, so they do have the leading edge of their lug broken in, where these do not. That can impact things, although I doubt that would impact side hill. Overall, I think the Slinger takes the edge in the side hill. All right, now obstacle 2. Now remember, at the end of obstacle 2, as we were transitioning to obstacle 3, right here, our Slingers had to take a reset. Let's see how the Slinger X is at even pulling onto the obstacle. And I mentioned, I thought perhaps there's a possibility that the Slinger X could get the slow pull on this, that the Slinger looked like it might be able to get. Now we need to shuttle sideways. But with the taller tire and that chunkier lug, it's really going to want to hook that ledge where the rear passenger tire is right now. It's going to want to hook that ledge and pull us over backwards. So I need that front tire to hook side lug. But I just don't have the contact to do it. We're barely making contact right there. And that rear tire is just wanting to pitch us over backwards. There's a world in which this tire can do this, and I think that world is Tire Rack 2.0. Which is why, once that rig is dialed in, that's why I said in the Tire Rack 2.0 video, well, you haven't seen it yet if you watch this right away, but in that video I mentioned that I think that rig will eventually be used for tire comparisons, like side-by-sides. This is why. Because it's a more capable rig. All right, let's give it the bump. Like 95.9 or 99.9% of tires have to do. That was me taking the wrong line. All right, bump. Okay. I'm going to fix the body right here. I'm not helping the rig. I'm just popping this back into the slider. Sorry about my shadow. The sun's moving slow. Try to keep my shadow out of the shot. It really, anyhow, it looks like, on my screen, it looks like it makes it too dark to even see what's going on. Excuse me. Okay. So, oh man, remind me to drink some water when I get back up to camp. This is where we had to reset with the slingers. So, okay, I'm not getting it on camera. Oh, okay. So I'm not giving this as an excuse because it's not getting that reset for free. But I did take my eyes off the rig to mess with my camera. But oh yeah, we're seeing the same thing here. Slightly worse than the Slinger actually. Ooh, yeah, we only took one reset right here with the Slinger, correct? And that was the exact same roll off 2 times in a row. One more chance. One thing I'll say about the Slinger X. Okay, so because that lug is so much more spaced and we're big and chunky, there's a lot more bounce. We have a lot more traction hop with the Slinger X. A lot more, like kind of an uncontrollable amount of traction hop. Now again, T8 compound. T10 will be coming. I ordered the tires last night, so that tire will be posted next week. It will be posted on its own, and then depending on how it does, maybe we'll do a side-by-side of the T8 and the T10 Slinger. All right, can I pause right there? But we'll run it on its own first. This will be fresh enough in my memory that I don't think we have to do an actual side-by-side unless there's just some significant reason to. Okay, here, this is just shoddy driving. Shoddy driving. I'm hung on, oh, okay, that's a bad hang up. Hang on. We had that sharp corner of the rock caught between the rear link and the rear drive shaft. Obstacle 2, the Slinger one. Obstacle 3, the Slinger X one. So right now, Slingers are up by 1. Obstacle 4. Slingers took a second to get up here. Slinger X is no hesitation at all. That open lug is going to be part of that, as it allows us to hook the edge of this rock better. And the, taller tire size allows us to hook that a little easier. So, easy win there for the Slinger X. So we are now tied. Ooh, my screen is getting dusty. I can't see it. Coming on to obstacle 5, the kind of side hill descent where we want to make sure the front of the rig doesn't slide. Yeah, both tires equal performance there. We're still tied. Entry onto obstacle 6. I don't think the Slinger struggled there. But the actual pull up onto obstacle 6, the Slinger was able to do. Try to take the same line the Slinger took. Slight amount of hesitation with the Slinger X. That's pretty close. That's close enough that I'm going to call it a tie. If you've made me choose, I would say the Slinger X had a slight edge. Again, it's going to be because of the height and because of that open lug. But for the purposes of this video, we're still tied. But if you wanted me to tell you which one did better there, it would be the Slinger X, just slightly. Coming on to 7. Slingers failed both halves of obstacle 7, both parts of obstacle 7, where we need the rear tires to hold on enough to allow us to descend without rolling. And okay, so we did the nosedive rollout, but that's actually pretty normal. We didn't tumble off the obstacle like the Slingers did. That's just due to a big drop at the end. So that rollout is a normal part of the obstacle. It's very common for that to happen. A lot of times I can catch it on the nosedive and set it back down. I just wasn't able to do that there. Second half of the obstacle, the Slingers also failed. And yeah, the Slinger X is maintaining control. Slinger X won that obstacle, no question. Slinger X up by 1. Now, this will be interesting. Slingers took a little bit of work to get up here. We did have to hook side lug. Slinger X, I suspect that traction hop is going to be a problem here. I'm going to clip this body back in. Again, not helping the rig. First we test the slow pull. Not even able to slow pull onto the obstacle. I believe the Slinger X was, or the Slinger, well, traction hop not as bad as I thought it would be. We're definitely going to have to resort to wheel speed like we did with the Slinger and hook our side lug. Oh, I'm not sure if that was tire or driver. So again, clipping the body back in. It's possible the Slinger X is going to get a free pass on that rollout. I think I could have caught that. I think that was a driver mistake. We'll see if it happens again, then maybe we'll decide. Okay, hooking the side lug. A little bit easier to keep the axle tube off of the rock just because the tire is taller. Ultimately, that's pretty similar performance. So here's the thing. The Slinger did not roll off. I believe that the roll off of the Slinger X was due to me. The Slinger X got up there a little quicker, but I also don't think I spent as much time with the Slinger X trying to see if it would slow walk it because I knew it wouldn't. So we're going to call that one a draw as well. Slinger X still up by 1. Diff hang up, didn't get a big diff hang up with the Slingers. Unlikely to get a big diff hang up with the Slinger X considering it's even taller. Yeah, no hang up there. That's going to be tire height. I mean, again, technically the Slinger X, if you made me choose a winner, the Slinger X would do it, but the Slinger had slightly longer hang up. Like, I mean, by not even a full second, just because it's a shorter tire. So another draw. Coming up onto the steep hill climb, Slinger X not able to, or the Slinger not able to slow walk it. The Slinger X able to slow walk on. Little itty bitty bit of wheel speed necessary to go up. And then the dismount. That's a pretty clear win to the Slinger X. Both tires able to do the obstacle, but the Slinger X able to manage it much easier. Slinger X up by 2. Now the trails. The Slingers struggled in a couple spots. I'm being lenient on the trails today because some of the issues are caused by me not being able to see where I'm driving due to all the leaves on the ground. All the leaves on the ground. But I know where we struggled with the Slinger. We failed. We failed the trail obstacle. Well, we failed the trail obstacle because we had to bypass the last part of it. We had a little bit of a struggle here. Although part of this, I believe this is when I got that weed wrapped around it. I honestly don't remember whether I had to bump that with the Slinger or not. I think I did. But here's where the Slinger failed. Let's see how the Slinger X does. The same initial hesitation. Seems to be kind of holding itself up there a little better. Might be able to find traction. The question is, am I going to be able to find traction and place the front end where it needs to go? Try to give it about the same amount of time I get the Slinger. So same problem here. Ooh, okay. All right. That's another win for the Slinger X. So Slinger X up by 3. Our loose gravel hill climb. The Slinger struggled here a little more than I thought it would. Slinger X with that wider lug, I expect. I was going to say I expect not to have issues. I expect it to do well, but a little bit of hesitation there. Are we still on camera? Okay, so ultimately, we went up with, I think, slightly less hesitation, but more importantly, less wheel speed. Slinger X up by 4. Okie silly dilly dokio. What do we think? Well, the Slinger X did better by a good margin throughout the course. At the end, leading by 4 points. If side hilling is a really big thing of importance to you, then the Slinger is the way to go. Everywhere else, the Slinger X had the edge. The Slinger X did worse on one other area than the Slinger, but you know, it did better everywhere else, or at least the same everywhere else. So I give the edge to the Slinger X. Now, at the end of the day, which of these tires should you choose? Quite honestly, you might not want to hear it, but wait until next week. I'm going to run the Slinger X in the T10 compound. I think that's going to be the magic bullet. The only thing, I mean, I haven't held that compound in my hand, so I don't know for sure. I hope it's not too soft. I doubt it will be. I think it's going to be kind of the perfect combination of lug and compound, but I can't tell you for sure until I run it. So if you have been waiting for my opinion to purchase this tire, I hate to tell you this, but I would wait another week until that video comes out. If you want to gamble it, go ahead and purchase the T10 Slinger X's. I think that's going to be your best bet. I think the Slingers, if we cut these lugs and then ran them again against this Slinger X, so it would be the Slinger and the Slinger X in the same compound against each other, That would be interesting too, because the Slinger is a little shorter, even though now side by side it looks taller, but that's because it's not mounted. It's, you know, it doesn't have the weight of the rig sitting on it. It's a little bit shorter and it's a little bit narrower. That's going to be an interesting comparison as well. I think we'll do that. So we're going to get the T10s. We're going to run those next week. And then there's going to be some more side-by-sides with this tire. We may as well do a side-by-side with the T8 and T10, and then we may as well do a side-by-side with the T8 of the Slinger X and an actual cut Slinger. Till next time, everybody. Have a good day.